Hello. Welcome to Three Steps to Attracting and Saving More Money this year. Thank you so much, Maggie, for introducing me. And I'm so excited to be here. I actually love Savvy Ladies as an organization. I've been a part of it and been to the events for a number of years. And I honestly, there's nothing that makes me more excited than ladies getting savvier around money. It's part of my mission as well. In fact, my mission is to change the money conversation on the planet so that we can actually start making all of our decisions from our hearts and not just what's in our bank account. I know that with what's going on internationally in the world, legislation is not keeping up, especially for women. And so what I know to be true is that the more money that we get in the hands of the right women in this world, the more different the world is going to look. And the change that they are going to make out there is going to be incredible. So I am so excited to be here and to share my topic for today, 3 steps to attracting and saving more money this year. So my company is Revenue Breakthrough, and today my choice is teaching you the 3 steps to attract and save more this year. What I have found over and over again is that people, they don't aim too high and miss. They aim too low and they hit that. And I find that over and over again with money, because we were raised in a society and in a world where we were taught that we can't talk about money, that we're not good at looking at our numbers, that we can't handle what is things like tracking and conversion rates and business ratios. But the truth is, in most cultures in the world, in the majority of cultures in the world, it is the woman of the house that manages the money, ultimately. And so truly, what has actually been happening is, from behind the scenes, we've been rocking and rolling for most of history and most of what's happening today. And what I know to be true is that money isn't everything, but what I know that most of us realize is that it touches everything that matters, right? When you think about going to visit your family, there's the plane ticket and the hotel and where you're going to stay. When you think about sending your child to school, it's what school are you sending them to and what can you afford? When you think about what you're going to do for your business next, whether you're going to do a video or a podcast, there's always the money concern that comes up. And what I'd like to do is to make that easier, because I know for me, it was incredibly difficult. When I first started my business, I graduated from the Kellogg School of Management. I majored in entrepreneurship and marketing. I then went to L'Oreal Paris. I worked as a brand manager there for a couple of years, and then I left L'Oreal to start my first company. And within 12 months of starting my first company, I was $25,000 in debt. Now, I'd love to tell you that that was good debt, happy debt, things like buying great shoes and great chairs for my office. But ultimately, it was smart debt. It was investing in my business. It was investing in things that I needed to learn and do. But the problem was that I couldn't figure out how to pay off that debt. And I find that that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck, is that they buy the notion of investing in themselves and investing in their businesses, but they just do it in the wrong way. You end up spending money on things that you actually don't need in the beginning. You end up spending money even on programs and learnings and investments in things that you don't need in the beginning. And therefore, you accumulate debt that you can't pay off because you're not focusing on the wrong things, on the right things. And for me, it was completely that way. I was playing marketing Russian roulette with just about everything I did. And what I mean by that is that I would go out to lunch with my best friend and talk to her about her business. And she would say, oh, I'm writing a book. And I'd say, oh, great. Well, I'm going to go home and write a book. And then I would go home and write 7 chapters of a book. And then I would talk to somebody else and they would say, well, I'm doing a continuity program where I'm going to charge $95 a month. And I'd say, oh, I'm going to do a continuity program. And it wasn't that I had a problem with starting and not finishing. I would finish these things. It's just that when I would launch them, they wouldn't work. They wouldn't do the things that people said they were going to do. When I launched my continuity program, 7 people joined, a big 7 people. And I had spent $7,000 between the investing and the learning how to launch it and the pages up to get the thing off the ground. And then 4 of them dropped out. Now, just in case you don't know what a continuity program is, it's one of those clubs where you charge $97 a month. And what I didn't know at that time, and I wish I had, was that it just wasn't the right timing. And I did this so much that I started to do other things to be able to pay for my business. So I started to do things like rent my apartment out, dog sit, cat sit, sell things on eBay. And then there was this particular day when I had rented the apartment out for much of that month. And then that particular week, I had rented the apartment out for 6 days in a row. So I'd been away from home for a while, and I collected my stuff with me as I sort of moved from place to place. And I got on the subway. I got off the subway. I had 2 bags on one arm. I had 2 bags on another arm. I had a bag across my chest, a roller bag that I was carrying with me. And I started climbing up the subway stairs, and New Yorkers are running by me, and they're knocking bags off of me, and their bags are falling down the stairs, and I'm trying to keep up and keep everything in my hands. And I finally get to the top, and I'm like, okay, I had chosen this subway stop so that I could get on the elevator or get on the escalator and get up to street level. And I looked to the left, and the escalator was closed. And I looked to the right, and the elevator was broken. And I looked in front of me, and there were 4 more flights of stairs to get to street level. And I was going to have to walk. And in that moment, I took a deep breath. And I sat down on the New York subway floor. Now, you know you've hit rock bottom when you sit down on a New York subway floor. And I could feel the tears coming down. And I got really clear that I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to carry my baggage, literally or metaphorically. This baggage of the debt that I was carrying, the fact that it was growing and that I didn't know how to pay it off, the shame that was around it, the fact that I was working 60, 70 hours a week just so I didn't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else. And I got clear that I had to figure it out. And if I didn't figure it out, I was going to go back and get a job. Now, I'm sure many of you relate to this. Going back and getting a job wasn't the best option for me because I did not like being told what to do. And I still don't like being told what to do. And so I got clear that I had to figure it out. And I spent the next 12 months hiring business coaches and marketing experts and reading and learning and talking to my dad who sold his company when I was in college and my Kellogg friends. And what I got clear on was that I was doing everything backwards. I was focusing on the wrong activities, doing them in the wrong order, and therefore I was working twice as hard as I needed to be and charging half as much as I could be. And when I shifted those activities, and when I shifted exactly the order in which I started to do things, everything started to change. I was able to pay off the $25,000 in debt in the next 12 months. I put $7,000 into savings that year. And then every year after that, I steadily increased my revenue, sometimes doubling or tripling it, until 2013, where we crossed seven figures. And then we've been consistently growing at the seven-figure level since then. And today, we've been an over seven-figure company for 6 years. And the thing that is most exciting about that for me is, number one, I get to sleep in my own bed consistently and regularly, which is always a joy. And number two, that I get to help other women build and grow the income in their own businesses and in their own lives. Money is a taboo that has not been talked about and needs to be. It needs to be focused on. There's a method to the madness. And if you are not focusing on generating revenue, it does not matter how much mindset work you do, or how much motivation work, or how inventive or creative you are. Because if you're not trained to look at the bottom line and to know what the top activities are to be generating money for your particular business model, you'll always be working twice as hard as you need to be. And that is the quantum shift that happens when you understand the 5 steps to generating money. You can actually start to have some huge leaps in your business. Now, I'm going to share with you what those 5 steps are, and we're going to go through some tools that kind of live under the first 2 of those steps today. And then I'm going to share with you an invitation on how you can go further and learn the entire system with me. So if this is something that is really appealing to you, and I really hit some home, even with just the story I told, if you're standing in front of a real staircase or a metaphorical staircase of your own, where you've either been hitting a money ceiling every year, or you've been in a real desperation or avoidance place around money in your business, I want you to know that there is a different path. And you can start to take that different path today, because we're gonna start to look at it today, and I'm gonna invite you to really explore what's going on underneath the surface around money for you. So the 5 steps that I created are what I call my cash flow mastery system. And this is a system that it took me a couple years to understand, but when I got it, I started to realize why everything was such a struggle for me in the beginning of my business. And I see entrepreneurs. I mean, just last week I did 3 speaking events where I met entrepreneurs who literally, many of them in tears, come to me because they suddenly realize why they've been struggling. And ultimately, I think the thing that is most frustrating for me to see, and I know that I did this to myself as well, is how many of us blame ourselves, right? How many of us think to ourselves, oh my God, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing the right thing, or I am not working hard enough or focusing enough. And so we spend the time and energy in self-loathing or disappointment, and instead of spending the time and energy learning the right direction to turn ourselves in and the activities that we could be doing. So I'm going to invite you today to focus your energy away from disappointment, away from shame, away from I should have, away from I never get enough done, and towards the steps I'm going to teach you right now. Step number 1 is that you have to create new money voices. So we're going to get a start on that today, and I'm going to talk more about that. Step number 2 is you have to track the right numbers. So tracking works. Unfortunately, most of us are doing a lot of mental tracking on the wrong things. So you're tracking how much debt you have. You're tracking all the wrong things. You're tracking all the things that you didn't get done yesterday. And I really mean this. You're tracking the bad things that you're eating. I want you to think about the things that you obsess about right now, because you're ultimately mentally tracking them. You're tracking maybe how you didn't do your workout this morning, right? You're tracking things. You're just not tracking the right things. So there are the right numbers to be tracking. And we're going to go over a few of them today. Step number 3 is doing the correct revenue generating activities. So there are revenue generating activities is anything that leads to a sales conversation. If you do them in the correct order, in the right way, you will shift your business. And we're going to talk about a couple of them today. Create and update a dynamic plan. Planning is the key to actually being able to take time off. Planning is the key to getting more done. It's not about focusing. It's not about working harder. It's not about working longer hours. The key to getting more done is actually 2 pieces. It's creating a plan and it's delegating. Creating a plan and delegating. And if you can do those 2 things, life will become much easier. So learning how to do that is key. And then I have the mastery methodology, which is step number 5. What I started to learn is that part of what is happening, and this is actually step number 5 is a new step. It's not in any of my books. It's really based on what I've been learning from the groups that I've been speaking in front of. And that is that people, we just don't rinse and repeat enough. We're so attracted to shiny pennies. We're so attracted to the state of being in disappointment that when something feels like we didn't hit it out of the ballpark, like we give a talk or we do a webinar, we do a presentation, we immediately go to the next thing. We assume that it is broken instead of looking at the numbers, evaluating what happened, and trying it again. Becoming masterful is about rinsing and repeating. So I call it the mastery methodology, which is about how do you actually, believe it or not, the path to mastery is a lot easier than the path to trying 28 different things. But because we're so afraid to try and fail and be a little bit mediocre the first maybe 4, 5, maybe 10 times that we do something, we'd rather try something new and have the excuse that because it was new, we're not going to be good at it. So this is a new way of looking at the world, is rinsing and repeating, so you can actually start to become masterful at it. So let's actually jump into tool number 1 of our 3 tools that we're going to share today, and this is understanding your money voices. Now, what I call your money voices is really, they're the voices in your head. Now, in your head, there's what I like to imagine as a boardroom table in your head. And there's all these chairs around the boardroom table, and there's literally people talking to you. Now, some of those voices are yours. Some of those voices are your ancestors. Some of them are your friends, your family members. They all come from different life experiences. And many of these voices are the things that actually make your decisions on your business and around money. And most of them were created before you even remember, between the ages of 0 to 7. That is because between the ages of 0 to 7, you are like a complete and total sponge. Everything that you learn, everything that you saw visually, everything that you experienced kinesthetically and went through life doing became one of these voices sitting at the table. And because it became one of these voices sitting at the table, it is now driving your subconscious beliefs in living there. And those are the things that are driving your decisions, whether you realize it or not. And the more aware you can become of these voices, the more in control you can be of making decisions in your business. And you'll find that not only is it easier to do your marketing activities and to do your sales conversations, it is also, you're going to find that you're driven less from a place of fear and worry and anxiety all the time, and more from a place of love and excitement and momentum. And it'll take you back to the excitement of why you started your business, when you're operating from the appropriate money voice instead of the fear money voice. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to go through a series of questions. I am going to show you, actually, I'll just give you the website link right now. It's also going to be on a future slide, but it's revenuebreakthrough.com/money magnet. revenuebreakthrough.com /money magnets, you can get these questions there so that you can have more time to fill them out later. So the first question that I want you to answer, and if you've got a pen and paper, you just want to pull this out and jot down the first thing that comes to your mind, is how did your mom, dad, and family talk about money when you were growing up? How did your mom, dad, and family talk about money when you were growing up? So did they say things like, who do you think you are, Rockefeller's daughter? Rich people are mean. You have to work hard to make a lot of money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Do you think I'm made of money? What did they say? And if they didn't say anything at all, be sure to write that down as well. I'm just going to give you another about 10 seconds. Write as quickly without judging yourself as you possibly can. You don't even have to write down the question title because you can get those from the opt-in. Next question. What was money like for your family and for you? We never had enough. I never really thought about money. It was always there. My parents were always fighting about money. We always had some money. What was money like for your family and for you? Third question. What did your parents do with the money that they did bring in? So go ahead and start writing. What did they do? How did they spend it? I have some clients that say there was never enough of it to spend. They didn't really spend anything. Or I never saw the money. I have no idea. Or they spent it all. Or my mom spent it on herself. How did they how did they spend the money that they did bring in? What did they spend it on? Did they buy things for you? Did they buy things for themselves? Did they buy things for other people? Did they give a lot to charity? Where did the money go when it did come in? And then the next question, what are your current business struggles? And I really want you to be honest here, especially because many of you are doing this in the privacy of your own home with no one watching. Tell me what your struggles are. Not enough clients, clients keep backing out, is there inconsistent cash flow? Are you overwhelmed? Is there too much to do? Or is it just that you're not making enough money? What are your struggles? All right. So here's the thing, is that you're probably getting an idea just from writing these things down, even if you answered only one or two of the questions, of what the voices are in your head, what the boardroom looks like for you, and where those voices came from. What I found over and over again is that you're either going in one or another direction. If your mom, so for example, my mom, she had a money voice around she definitely had a scarcity money voice. She grew up in India, came over when she was 26 years old, and definitely always felt like money was going away. And so she would have odd rules. Like she would say things like, Monica, she would never let me buy books. Now, looking back on it, it was probably a wise decision, but I didn't take it very well growing up because she said I read them too quickly, which I might have. But point is that I, as an adult, have more books than I know what to do with. And I constantly am getting books in multiple versions, paperback, hardback, Kindle. Like I have multiple copies of books. And for me, it's going in the opposite direction of my money voices that I grew up with. There are other money voices that you go in the same direction with that you don't even realize. So my dad, when I was little, every Saturday we would go to the office, and on Saturdays he would go through all of the mail and the receipts and the bills, and he would organize everything so he could take care of it. And I didn't realize until just a year ago that I do that too. I don't go through the mail every day. I let it pile up, and then on Saturdays I go through it. And I was starting to get really irritated that I felt like I had to work every Saturday, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, and it wasn't even real work. It was going through the mail, and then suddenly I realized I had followed my dad's money voice around when you check the bills and get everything organized on the weekend. So as you look through your voices, you can kind of start to see where your stories are coming from. And one of my clients, Sarah, her root experience, and what I mean by root experience is her answers to these questions. What she realized is that her family only spent money on the necessities. Only, and literally they would only buy, she said they would only buy food, and they would buy necessities like heating and electricity. And then even on clothes, she had a uniform that she wore to school, and then on the weekend she had 2 or 3 outfits that she rotated between. And so what that led to was a current money voice in her head that said spending extra money on yourself for things like extras, like body work or personal development, is a waste of money and time. And how that was affecting her business is that she had not raised her rates in over 15 years. She's a chiropractor, a craniosacral specialist, and a nutritionist, has degrees in all 3 fields, has been in practice for 15 years. And when she first met me, we went through this exercise, she had not turned a profit in over 2 years because she just could not bear to raise her prices because she thought her services weren't necessities, and they weren't worth charging extra money for. So we had to create a new money voice in her head. And the new money voice we created was, my services can and will change lives and are worth every dollar. My services can and will change lives and are worth every dollar. Now, she wrote that new voice on 7 different pieces of paper, and she put it in 7 different places in her home and in her office. And she read it before every sales conversation. And it supported her when she came from that place. She was able to get the new prices out of her mouth with confidence. And actually, over the next 3 months of us working together, she raised her prices 3 different times. And now she's having a resounding profit in her practice. And it comes from a place of love, not a place of fear. She didn't raise her prices because she was going to go out of business and because people just weren't paying her enough. She raised her prices from the love of herself and the love of her offerings and the value that they provided. So for you, I want you to work through the same thing for yourself. And so if you've got a pen and paper, I want you to write down these 4 boxes. You may not have time to do it right now in this moment, but I want you to examine for yourself, what are the voices in your head, the money voices saying about what you can charge and what you can't charge, or what's going to happen if you make a lot of money, or what you have to do with your money, or what's gonna be possible if you hire people to support you to make money, right? What are the voices saying? And then I want you to explore, where are they coming from? What are the root experiences? And then how are those voices affecting your business? And then I want you to take a stab at creating a new voice for yourself. And your assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to read that new voice every day for the next 30 days and to start to come from a place of that new voice. So if your new voice is, my services can and will change lives and are worth every dollar, the next question to ask yourself is, what would a person do who really believed that? What next action would a person take who really believed that new voice? So write that question down for yourself and start to operate from that place. And next, we're going to talk about, oh, and I want to give you the tools to be able to get this, because I know we went through that exercise relatively quickly. And so if you want to get that, get all the questions in one place so you can write everything down and take notes on it, you want to go to revenuebreakthrough.com/money magnet, revenuebreakthrough.com/money magnet, and it'll give you a more detailed version of that exercise so you can create your new money voice. And see, once you've created your new money voice, you now have the foundation for tool number 2, which is revenue tracking. Because we have to combine the mindset, the new mindset, with new actions. Now, when I talked at the beginning about we're mostly tracking the wrong thing, when I said tracking, what I meant was, whatever you think about repeatedly is whatever is growing. And for most entrepreneurs, what you're thinking about repeatedly is, I don't have enough, there's not enough money, there's not enough clients, I didn't go out enough, I didn't do enough, I'm not enough. And so you repeatedly get returned to you, not enough, not enough, not enough. And it is like this crazy mind-bending cycle that will drive you mad. So instead, we want to flip this to you tracking something that is actually exciting and fun, and that's your revenue. So what I want to invite you to do is create a revenue tracking sheet. Now, this is a picture of a revenue tracking sheet, just so I can describe it to you. You can just take a plain piece of notebook paper and do it on there. So all you're going to do is you're going to take a new piece of notebook paper, you're going to number it 1 through 31. That's going to stand for the days of the month. At the top of the piece of paper, you're going to do an inspirational phrase. I like to put your new money voice there. So whatever your new money voice is, then you're going to do a money goal, a 60-day money goal. How much money do you want to generate in the next 60 days? I don't do 30-day money goals. I do either 60 or 90-day money goals. And here's why. Anything can happen. For me, just now, I actually had the flu for about 4 days. And they were kind of 4 critical, pivotal days. And so therefore, I actually am going to need 60 days to make my money goal, because we had a little bit of a slip up with me not being able to work. Well, frankly, me not being able to pick my head up off the pillow. And so because of that, you need to give yourself some time, because things happen. And so if you're always tracking in 30-day increments, you're always going to be disappointed, because there's always shit that occurs in a 30-day period. But if you give yourself 60 to 90 days, it allows yourself time to make up for anything that occurred in that 30-day period and still hit your revenue goal. And then what you're going to do is every day that money comes in, you're going to track it. So if it's the 5th day of the month and $5,000 comes in, you put $5,000 next to the number 5. If it's the 10th day of the month and $30 comes in, you put $30 next to the number 10. If it's the 11th day of the month and $0 comes in, you put 0 next to the number 11. And yes, it's not happy to put your zeros in, but it will teach you to track the right numbers. So as you put your numbers in, you're going to be adding them. So you're going to be creating a tally, an addition of the numbers. And what you're looking for is how close are you getting to your 60-day goal. And what you're going to find is that you really start to manifest things differently when you're tracking your revenue. Now, just to answer a few of your questions, it should be actual revenue. So not promised revenue. So if somebody says, I'll pay you in 2 weeks, you don't track it until you actually get their credit card and you charge it. And some people say to me, well, should I track all of my businesses on here, not just, my day job and my little business? Absolutely. Track all the money, because all money is good money. So you never want to say, oh, like my little business is doing terribly, but my job is doing great. You want to look at it as a whole. You can choose to do them separately if you'd like, just so you have a reference for yourself. But all money is good money, and it'll start to build a momentum for you when you're tracking it all in one place. And understand this, when you're first starting revenue tracking, I really recommend that you commit to 3 cycles of 60 days, which is 6 months of tracking, even if you don't hit your numbers. What I want you to understand is that when I first started doing this, I did not hit my goals actually for the first whole year that I was revenue tracking. I would put these large goals on there and I would work to try to hit them, and I didn't. And it was frustrating. But I'll tell you what, I grew. I grew that way. I grew the money that way. And the second year that I started doing it, I really started hitting the numbers more regularly. So understand that this is to get you in the habit of focusing on the right things, keeping you from being distracted in the middle of the month, and to get you to understand that you want to be focusing on generating the revenue so that you don't get sidetracked with other things. And then let's talk about tool number 3, which is, what are those activities? What are the things that are going to be the things that actually generate more revenue? Well, the number one revenue, and what I mean by an RGA is a revenue generating activity. The number one RGA is doing a sales conversation. And a sales conversation is simply defined as a conversation where you are asking for money. Now, for all of you, you all have different businesses, so it's going to look different. For some of you, asking for money requires meeting with different corporations and moving up a chain of ladders. For some of you, it's talking to individual people. For some of you, it's doing product shows and demos so that you can actually bring distributors under you if you're doing multi-level marketing or product marketing. For some of you, it's getting into retail stores if you're selling products, or finding new partners to help you sell online. So it's really going to be different based on your business, but that's the first important thing for you to realize is, do you know what a sales conversation is for your business? And do you know, and are you tracking them? And then the second piece, once you understand what a sales conversation is for your business, it's, what are the activities that generate sales conversations? Those are your revenue generating activities. And you want to pick 3 of those activities to do first every single day. So these do not include making your website prettier, or formatting your brochure, or tweaking your headline over and over again, or dealing with client logistics when a client gives you 4 different credit cards and you decide to spend an hour talking about which amount you should pay on which card. They do include following up with clients, scheduling sales conversations, doing speaking events, doing partnerships and joint venture partner meetings. So I'll make this really simple for you. The top 3 ways, in my experience, for any business to generate more sales conversations are speaking, sponsorships, and webinars. Speaking, sponsorships, and webinars. And as much as everyone loves to hold on to that proprietary information and make you work to think that there's 17 different little tactics out there that generate sales conversations, I can tell you, as somebody who's been working with clients, right, and coaching them for a number of years, the number one way to have people fall in love with you is to see you as an authority, to see you as an expert. And speaking does that. Sponsorships, when you're standing at a table or speaking, does that. Webinars do that. And then I'll give you a 4th one as a bonus. Being an author also does that, right? Whether you're authoring articles or books, really standing out as the expert is what's going to generate those conversations for you. So your third tool here is to create for yourself your own money magnet. So this is the question to ask yourself. What are the 3 things I will do before noon today to generate the most money? You write those 3 things down and you do those 3 things before noon every single day. Those are your revenue generating activities. And guys, even just the act of thinking through this process of what are my 3 RGAs for today and am I doing them first will increase your revenue. I know you're thinking, but Monica, it has to be harder than this. You don't understand. I need to learn how to use LinkedIn and I need to learn how to use Facebook and I need to create my email funnel and I need to put out my podcast. And you know what? Those are all really great marketing tactics. But for many of you, you have got low-hanging fruit just sitting in your inbox. You've got 5 people that you've met at a speaking event or a networking event that you didn't follow up with. So do really think through what is the lowest hanging fruit? What is the quickest way for me to get somebody into a sales conversation with me right now that I can do? And I'm going to do those activities first. Now, I just want to take a moment because as much as I would love to keep talking for hours and hours, I want to keep this short and sweet for everybody that is listening. And I want to just end with this. I've learned a couple different things that help when you're growing your revenue. The first piece is that sometimes you have to borrow faith or inspiration from others until you believe in yourself. So I want to really encourage you to make sure that you're not in isolation as you're building your business and as you're building your revenue. I've found that the number one thing that gets people crazy and alone and scared and shattered in their confidence is when they're sitting in their homes or in their offices trying to figure things out on their own or feeling like they're the only ones having this problem. So make sure you can connect with other entrepreneurs. Also understand that it is only by going through the fear that you will get over it. As much as I'd love to tell you that someday it's going to become really comfortable for you to raise your prices or that it's going to fall from the ceiling and feel really good for you to charge, $300 more a month. It won't. It will always be scary. It is still scary for me. But what has become less scary for me and will for you is the feeling of walking through your fear and then seeing the beauty and the joy and the love and the success on the other side of it. And then remembering to focus on these 5 steps to master your cash flow, master your life, so that you can live a bigger game. And I want to just inspire you with a story from one of my clients. Wendy is one of my clients, and she was able to use this process that I teach to double her income, to really fall back in love with her partner and to lose 21 pounds along the way. And it's something that I'm really proud of, is that money is actually, if you know anything about the chakras, money's in the same place as relationship and love, interestingly enough. So when you really start to work on your money, everything changes in your life. Your relationships, your family, your partners, your self-respect, your health, all of it starts to shift at the same time because it's all coming from the same energy. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to give you an invitation to an event that I am hosting, because there's so much more to share. And this is really only one aspect of the pie, of the sort of money pie. And that is that I have a 3-day event that I've created all about mastering your money. This money piece for me, I've watched women completely shift their lives around it, shift everything, shift their relationships, their families, the money they're making, the homes they're living in, the communities, the vacations that they're going on. And it works by working from the inside out. So I want to take a moment to invite you to join me to do more. If you found that this triggered something for you, if you found that you're feeling like, oh, I want to go deeper into what the revenue generating activities are, what sales conversations are about how I can generate more, how I can stop hitting money ceilings in my business, I really want to invite you to join me. It's April 26th through 28th. We do this it's in Atlanta, Georgia. We do this event every year. This is our 7th year of doing it. And we do it because we know that isolation is the enemy of wealth. And just to give you context for what the event is about, it's how to overcome your money obstacles is day 1. We talk about what's been holding you back. Day 2, we talk about how to create consistently high income. And we talk about the 6 ways to make money and how to position and brand yourself on day 2. And on day 3, we talk about how to build a support system to be able to support yourself while you're making money, as well as I teach you my sales conversations and all of the steps to doing a sales conversation. I don't hold anything back at this event. My desire is to shift the money conversation for 5,000 women this year. And in order for me to do that, Master Your Money is a huge part of that mission. The only way that I can actually spread this message of changing the money conversation in the planet is by getting to and impacting as many women as I possibly can. And Master Your Money is exactly how I do that. And I really want to invite you to be a part of it. So the investment for Master Your Money right now is $295 for one ticket to Master Your Money. But one thing I do know is that it's a lot to get on a plane, to fly to be at a hotel. The hotel that we're doing this at is DoubleTree. It's called the American Hotel downtown, and the hotel rate is $149. So I want to make it a little bit easier for you, and I want to give you that $200 back so that you can use that towards the flight or the hotel, and I want to give you $200 off the event. So it's $95 for you, plus you get to bring a friend, and what you do is you just put the promotion code SAVE200, and in order to find it, you go to revenuebreakthrough.com/money. revenuebreakthrough.com/money. You can register for the event there. Once your past no longer has the power to define you, your future is quite literally yours for the taking. Every single beautiful thing you could possibly want or imagine will be yours. Now, I love this quote from Dan Pierce because it's so true. Once your past around money and the stories that your parents told you or that you've been telling yourself, or the money traumas or the money guilt starts to slip away, your future is quite literally yours for the taking. And that is what I want for you. That's what I want for your legacy, for everybody that works with you. And that is how I know that we're all going to be better, is if we can let go of the past and step into the future. So I want to take a moment now and pause and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Monica. That was great. I'll remind everyone you can use the chat box if you have a question for Monica, or if you're calling in, you can email info@savvyladies.org. And the first question we have comes from someone who's just getting started with her business. And her question is, I feel like I need to hire someone to manage the marketing for my business, but I worry that it will be expensive to pay someone. How do I know if it's worth hiring someone full-time to manage the marketing side of my company versus trying to do it myself when I could then be concentrated on other aspects of running my business?
So if you're just starting, so first of all, I would suggest the first thing that you want to learn when you're first starting your business is how to sell, because sales is your most important aspect. And so my short answer to your question is, don't hire someone full time when you're just starting to do the marketing for you, because nobody will treat your business the way that you treat it. And you need to understand how to market it and how to sell it. So let me just make this simple for you. I'm not sure what kind of business you're in, but what you want to start to make for yourself is what are some money goals? Like, what is your sales goal? And if you're selling products, what is your product goal for each month or even each week? Or if you're doing services or you're doing client work, how many clients do you need to get, or how many services do you need to get every week and every month? And then you want to back that up and you want to figure out what your conversion rate is. So if you, for example, need to get 3 new services sold each month, then you probably need to do 9 sales conversations. So that would be your goal, is to get 9 sales conversations. And then I can make the marketing piece, it depends on what business you're in, but I will tell you generally the top 3 ways to generate sales conversations are speaking, sponsorships, and webinars. So if you can start to book those for yourself, that is worth you spending your time on. So anything else that you are doing in your business right now is not worth you spending a lot of time and energy on. So people will come back to me and they'll say, but Monica, I need to write my website, or I need to write my free gift. And I will say, you can do those things in 3 days. In fact, you could do those things in 1 day, depending on when you're working and how you're working. So it's about understanding, first things first, the most important activities are the revenue generating activities that generate sales conversations. And then and it's important that you learn to do those on your own. Then you can hand them off down the road.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Another question is, how do I know if I should be hiring a business partner?
These are great questions. They're very general questions. So I would need to know a little bit more about your business. But I will tell you generally what I think about business partners. Most partnerships are built from a place of lack or scarcity. And let me explain that further. A lot of my clients come to me and they say, I want a business partner because I'm lonely. I want a business partner because I don't want to do everything by myself. And those aren't great reasons to have a business partner. Those are great reasons to hire a team. Those are great reasons to hire vendors and subcontractors to support you in your endeavors and your tasks, so you're not feeling like you have to do everything by yourself. There's a great site called Upwork, upwork.com, where you can hire all kinds of vendors and subcontractors. There's another great site called hiremymom.com that has some great virtual assistants on it. And those are great ways to get yourself out of isolation and depression. Now, the good way to hire a partner, to think about bringing a partner in, is if you find somebody who actually brings to the table a complementary skill set and assets to your business. So for example, a friend of mine is thinking about going into a partnership, and he has a branding company. He just called me to get advice on it. It's an already 7-figure branding company. And the partner he's thinking about going to the table with has a black book of already established contacts that want to do business with him. And he's willing to invest money into the business already. So he's bringing to the table assets and capabilities. So that is the appropriate way to think about a partnership. And I'm assuming you're talking about like official partnership for your business, because there's also unofficial partnerships, right? Like, Savvy Ladies and I are right now, we're doing a partnership. I'm doing a webinar and they're educating their people, right? So I'm assuming your question was about official partnerships. If you're talking about like doing ventures with people, that you can do whenever you want to, whenever it feels right, whenever you feel like there's somebody that's bringing something to the table.
All right, great, thank you. And this looks like, I think this is the last question for you. It's, if I raise my prices and my business takes a hit because of it, how long should I wait to see if customers positively respond to the price increase before I think about going back and lowering the pricing?
It's a great question. Understand that when you raise your prices, you go through 3 stages. Stage one is actually stage one of raising your prices is people come to you usually and they can't afford it. And in fact, like let's say your original price was 500 and you raised it to 800. They come to you and they can't even afford 500, much less 800. And that's phase one. That's what I call, oh my gosh, you're crazy. That phase. Because what has happened is you're so in doubt around your prices that you're causing a lot of people to come to you who are also in doubt. Then there's phase two, where people will start to come to you and they may be able to pay the 800, but they're going to have to pay it in multiple payments on multiple different credit cards, and they're sort of wary about it. But by that point, you're so excited about them being able to pay at all that you're really like willing to take those cards. And then there's phase three. And phase three is when your vibration has gone up enough that you are confident that these prices are worth it. And then you're going to start to attract people that can pay the $800. So the reason I wanted to talk, so I'm going to start, that's the first piece, is the mindset around it. So my first answer to your question is keep your prices up. Now let's talk about the action piece of it. If you are taking your prices up, but you're marketing to the same individuals who know your lower prices and maybe had a hard time doing your lower prices, then you may also need to find a new ponds to fish in. And what I mean by that is find new places to speak at, new places to sponsor, new organizations to partner with, new partners to do webinars with, that are going to bring in new, fresh people that are going to see your prices and be able to pay them. So you can't raise your prices and then sit back and wait for people to accept the new prices. If you're finding that is not working, you need to raise your prices and then raise your activity level, raise where you're finding different and newer people for you, raise, instead of doing one speaking event every now and then, maybe you do one speaking event every week. Maybe instead of doing a sponsorship, or maybe you've never even done or paid for a table at an event where your target market is playing or being a part of, maybe now you go and you do one once a month, right? So it's about having it, about understanding that oftentimes it is not your prices that is the problem. It's the numbers problem. And what I mean by the numbers problem is that you're just not getting in front of enough people to find the ones that could afford and like happily be pleased to do your new prices. And then one more thing I will say about this, because it's a really fascinating and hot question. So I really appreciate you asking it. The final piece that I will say about this is that people have this feeling that there are quote unquote rich people in the world and quote unquote poor people in the world. And there are, I mean, if you look at it demographically, but I also want you to understand that, like, from a business perspective, if you're if you're looking for the person that can easily say yes to buy from you all the time, you're going to be disappointed. Most of there's going to be some that come in and they have plenty of money to buy from you and it's no big deal for them. And that's going to be your lucky yeses. But it's not going to be the majority of people that buy. There are going to be many people that buy from you that don't necessarily have the money in their underwear drawer just hanging out to buy from you. They're going to be purchasing from you because they have faith in you, because they have trust in you, because they see you as an expert, because they're so desperate about you helping them solve their problems. And so one of the ways to have more people step into saying yes, no matter what your price range is to show your authority. So again, I go back to ways to show that you are an expert, whether it be speaking or being on a stage or writing a book or writing articles or doing podcasts. It's really showing your expertise so that they go out of their way to find the money to be able to pay for you. And often a sales conversation that is done after something where you've shown your expertise, like an event, is already sowing the seeds for them to say yes. Whereas a sales conversation that is done simply from, an online source, where like maybe they just put their name and email into your website, or maybe they saw something written or whatnot, it's harder to convert those leads that actually haven't had the ability to really see you as an expert in a complete way. So
Okay.
that may also, I'm sorry, that may also be the problem of people not accepting your higher prices, is that they may just not see you in that expert way just yet, and it may require that you need to get out and do something different.
Okay. All right, well, those are the questions we have. So I want to thank you, Monica, for an excellent presentation. And I also want to thank you for this special offer to the Savvy Ladies community. As a reminder, we'll be sending out the link for this and the previous link, revenuebreakthrough.com/moneymagnet. You'll get all those in your inbox. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And thank you again so much, Monica.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day and go make tons of